something a little strange when you make your home out on the range.
The Boob Tube Boys are back at the Bar None Ranch again this week as we cover Hey Dude once more. This week, it's Season 3, Episode 7, Dueling Ranches, and hoo boy, it's a doozy. I'm Brian Vaughn. I'm not alone, because Van Lee's here. Van Lee, are you excited to talk about this episode of Hey Dude?
As a baseball fan.
We all are.
As a Mr. Ernst fan.
We all aren't.
I am as excited as I could possibly be to talk Hey Dude. And we mentioned this on last week's episode. Coming into this episode, I had a little bit of trepidation. I thought, oh my God, this last one was so bad. Boring almost. What's going to happen? And then my mind was blown when this episode started and
you didn't
beat
know.
for beat, crazy.
You didn't know what you're getting into.
No, that's Spencer Hendricks. He's here too. Are you ready, Spencer, to discuss this mind-blowing episode of Hey Dude?
What am I holding in my hand right now?
You're holding the baseball, and for
So
good
what do you think?
reason.
What do you think?
Oh, you're ready.
I am so excited.
Yeah.
This is going to be great.
Well, he
You're
also
gonna-
has that knife.
He's
I
going
don't
to
know if we should
deliver
pay
a
attention to
four-seamer.
I thought that was... I didn't think you saw that. That was my other hand behind my back.
You thought you were being sneaky.
That was if somebody tried to insult baseball. I was going to use that. But the baseball is because I love baseball.
Oh.
This is a baseball-centric episode of Hey Dude, which it just so happens the three of us are very long-term baseball fans. So this is an episode that hits close to home in many ways for the three of us.
That's a nice baseball pun, too.
Yeah, close to home. That was accidental, and
That's actually
I didn't even notice until you said it. I'm really proud of it now.
That's the final base that batters touch in baseball when they homer or score a run.
Yeah, because this isn't explicitly a baseball podcast like some of the other ones we do.
So maybe we should explain that.
it.
Yeah. That's a good
OPS
point.
stands for on base plus slugging.
Oh, we could keep going.
Yeah,
You
we'll
want to
have
know
to
about
figure out
exit velocity?
What Melody and Brad's OPS is for the year 1990.
Oh, I don't know. Not good.
This time around on Hey Dude, we've got a few cast changes. One of them is there's no Ted this episode.
Oh, good point.
I didn't
think
notice.
about that.
Yeah, I
it
didn't miss him.
It was
Same.
another reason this episode was better, probably. We mentioned it last episode, but there's an arc where Ted leaves to go to summer school because in real life, the actor, of course, had taken a role on a short-lived sitcom that gets canceled.
ER.
Returns later. Yeah, he was on Seinfeld.
He was briefly George Clooney.
He's not here. The actor who was brought in to ostensibly take his place is Jonathan Galkin playing Jake Decker, who's in this episode.
I genuinely didn't know there was a different person.
I
in it.
really
Yeah.
didn't notice. I think it gets overshadowed by the story.
Okay.
in
He
this
does,
episode.
and he really does. The story is much more Mr. Ernst and his
Yes.
family and the ranch in general centric.
This was kind of it had a lot going on in the backstory of Mr. Ernst here, actually.
It did, and Jake actually is Mr. Ernst's nephew,
Oh, okay.
so he has an Ernst connection. He shows up in this episode and largely serves as an agitator who prompts and prods Mr. Ernst to do different things he needs to do
Oh.
for the plot to move. We also see Buddy, who is Mr. Ernst's son, Benjamin Ernst Jr.
Sweet Matt's hat.
Sweet Matt's hat. He wears it the whole episode, which is fitting for a baseball episode. He was in the credits of the first episode too, but didn't appear in them. He's played by Josh
Whedon.
Josh Tygeel, or Tygeel, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, who hopefully is better to women than Joss Whedon. We also have Lucy, who we mentioned last episode, but she was not in it. She is the other ranch employee besides Mr. Ernst, who is an adult and can get shit done. And she actually knows how things on a ranch work.
She knows how a horse works. She knows how to start the
Yeah.
titular horse. from
She
the
can
song.
start the horse. Yeah, she, of course, has a ranch.
Of course.
Has a ranch background. She's down-to-earth ranch girl.
Yeah, she seems to be a good advisor to Mr. Ernst, who doesn't really know anything about what he's doing
he's
at
a
all.
city boy.
Yeah, well,
And
yeah,
a prissy boy.
he should have a better idea, considering his accountant background. He should have a better idea how to handle his business, but he doesn't seem to.
No,
he
he
seems
really
lost.
doesn't. The actress that plays Lucy, Deborah Kalman, she actually, I just found this super interesting. After Hey Dude, she effectively didn't really act for 20 years. And then got back into acting and has actually gotten a few prominent roles.
I wonder what she was doing in that 20-year hiatus.
I don't know. But
Ranching.
that's kind of cool that in her middle-aged years, she was like, I'm going to get back into acting. The most notable thing, at least per my knowledge, was she was in the Danny McBride series Vice Principals, which I've never
that's
seen.
cool. I haven't
but
either.
It's a comedy series on HBO.
Yeah, that's
So-
awesome.
That's very good for Deborah Kalman. And we have some...
Wait. I just realized her name. Cowman?
Yeah.
Cowman.
Cowman.
But she's a ranch person.
With a K. Cal.
Oh, it disappointed me.
Yeah,
About,
like Cal
black and
Penn.
white
Like Cal Penn from House.
Okay.
K-A-L.
Oh, so she commits
Man.
suicide at the end of this series, is what you're saying.
To my knowledge, no one actually kills themselves on Hey Dude.
That would be a little. I don't think that would quite fit the rest of the town, but
No.
I could be wrong. You might be able to fit it in there somehow.
You got to experiment, right?
Although, would we notice if it even happened, given the inoffensiveness of most of the episodes? We have a few guest actors in this episode, too, who none of which have an IMDb photo.
Those are my favorites.
Yeah. So that kind of gives you an idea. So I don't really need to go into their careers. What I do need to go into is this episode. So let's fucking do it, guys.
Oh, yeah. The cold open's great.
Yeah, we get a cold open where we're in Mr. Ernst's awesome office, and he's on the phone wearing a yellow baseball hat that will be planted on top of his head the rest of the episode. And he's on his rotary phone. He's called the Cacti Ticketing Agency because he needs to get tickets to an upcoming Wildcats vs. Tornadoes game. Are you guys going?
I would love to go with Mr. Ernst.
Based on the way they talked in this show, the Wildcats and the Tornadoes or whatever are amazing.
This
Is
a
that like
really
the only
big
two
rival.
teams in the league?
Has to be.
What league
Yeah,
is this?
I don't know. What league
Because
is this supposed to be?
They acknowledge the Mets, and he talks about them later, so he knows it's not
Major League Baseball exists in this universe, but
right?
these teams don't.
This is some local
He also
thing.
later mentioned someone wanting this guy could go pro,
So is it like an independent league? I wonder.
It's the
but
Pacific
some of
Coast
them are
League.
big stars. Yeah.
It's the next step behind, like
You
just
know, guys,
one step from the majors.
We're missing the obvious one, which is the Arizona Fall
Oh,
League.
yeah, that's fair.
But it's the summer, so it couldn't be.
Arizona Summer League.
I don't know.
The
It's
ASL, famous league.
we can definitely agree these are not supposed to be major league players. I forget which team is Mr. Ernst a big fan of.
He's repping the Wildcats. He's
Wildcats,
got a
okay.
which makes later a little confusing. But he actually is wearing Wildcats hat in this scene.
Okay.
I was later able to ascertain, and he has a shirt on, a Wildcat shirt later.
I like the idea that he periodically throughout the show doesn't have a shirt on. Mr. Ernst is shirtless.
Yeah, he's jacked. I don't like the percentage of time. Actually, it's kind of amazing for Boob Tube Boys that I'm like slowing down scenes and pausing them and writing furiously
Oh,
and
yeah.
feverishly in my notebook about like, hey, dude.
I've had to pause many weird episodes to make sure I get the exact right note down. It's like, well, let's I need to see that scene again. Let's make sure I got what I really need to understand in this. It's just bizarre. It's a different way of
I
watching.
feel like I'm like uncovering some great secret or something, but it's actually just I had a little thought about hey, dude, and I need to pause to make sure I'm right.
Like, I need to see what Ronnie's belt buckle said in this
Yeah.
scene.
I would imagine no one else that if anyone is still watching this, and it is on Paramount Plus, so they could, but I don't imagine anyone's ever like, I'm going to rewind that scene and watch it again.
I need to see the nuance in the performance from this Hey Dude cast member. It's probably not too likely. You know what sucks, though? Is that the Wildcats Tornado game is sold out.
Of course it is. They're
Not
the
a
two best
single-
teams in
yeah.
the league.
In the league. Not a single ticket to go. Mr. Ernst exclaims, rats! And that made me put in my notes a question for you two. Should we bring back rats?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did notice it. It did register. It did. So, I mean, I'm not sure I'm ready to go that far. Give me a few more times to hear it. Like, if you guys want to try to drop that on this podcast at some point when
Okay.
you get frustrated, I'll see how it sits with me, and maybe I'll get on board. If this rats movement takes off, I will sign your petition by the end of the night.
I hope it works. I'm really wanting to get rats back in action.
Well, okay, here's a little story about young me, and I'm talking 4 to 8 or
Were
something
you a
like
rat?
that. I was a rat. I was in my cage running on my little wheel. No, I would do this thing where I would hear something and I would latch onto it. It's all I could focus on. And I remember 2 phrases I would say because I latched on them. One was drat. As a 5-year-old boy, I was
Drat.
on there and saying,
Oh, I
drat."
wish I could have heard you say
I'll
that.
tell you right now, I know that as a 5-year-old boy, I said dang.
Dang, yeah, that's
Mhm.
a good one.
I don't think I've ever said that, ever.
My other one was rats.
It was. Wow. Even so, you should really be on
Did you
board
say it
with this game.
ironically?
No, it was rats. I dropped that, or whatever. Something would happen.
So
like,
really,
rats.
that rat sound was important to words you would say. It had to either be rats or drat.
Mhm.
The
One of the
RAT
two.
crucial to anything you would say as a 5-year-old.
I do love cheese.
So this means we can't go to the Tornadoes and Wildcats game either.
Fuck.
That's the most disappointing
Yeah.
part. I was going to go with Mr. Ernst.
I think we can listen to it on the radio, right?
Yeah, we can, and Mr. Ernst can too. Woo! He has a big old radio because it's 1990. Unfortunately, a baseball comes through the open window and drills the radio, breaking it. It turns out Mel actually slammed the shit out of a baseball as she
She's
does
a
multiple
hitter.
times.
It was
Man.
Mel Ott.
Yeah.
She can hit. She was in a league of their own as well. At this time period.
Yeah.
She was.
So Christine Taylor, she hits a big fly in the Mr. Ernst office. It hits and breaks his radio. The kids come up to Mr. Ernst's office and Melody's like bragging about how hard she hit the ball. They realize what's happened before Mr. Ernst does. He just knows his radio is broken. So they kind of awkwardly shuffle off after complimenting his office. And then, like a Scooby-Doo villain, Mr. Ernst finds the baseball and runs to the window and yells, "Kids!" before the credits roll.
I love this part because he actually sits on the baseball and says, "Ow." Like, I mean, I understand it would be weird to sit in a baseball. It wouldn't hurt. It would just be like, what is this lump? He acts like it's spiky. Like there's a big spike protruding from the baseball. He's like, "Ow."
Or like he sat on a chomp chain.
Yeah,
chain
it's just
chomp
a
or
strange
something.
reaction when you sit in a hard lump of something. It's going to be like, what is that? But you're not going to go, ah. But that's how he does and then he picks it up and he puts it all together. He's like, these fucking kids.
What if he had sat on the baseball and then he was like, oh. And then he just slowly just wiggles it into his butt.
And that's the cold open.
Yeah.
It's right there.
He gets up to walk away, and there's just a baseball, little bit sticking out of his butt.
So
Kids, I've discovered a new passion in life.
That's why he's so fond of baseball.
Does
Mr.
anyone have a
Ernst.
gerbil? Mr. Ernst is into
Or
butt
a rat?
stuff. It's canon. After the horseshoe credits roll, which show Buddy, who actually is in this episode, we go to the ranch lobby, and we actually have continuity between the cold open and the opening scene right away here, because Mr. Ernst is still worried about being able to watch the Wildcats and Tornadoes game because his radio is still broken. However, there are bigger fish to fry because Lucy, who is the cow woman that we
And the
mentioned
only
earlier,
one who is competent to figure out anything that's going wrong in
Yeah,
this business.
I feel like the business would just fail entirely if Lucy
I
didn't
feel
work there.
the same way.
For instance, she comes in and tells Mr. Ernst that Creedence Creek actually has been dammed up by the bozos next door, Snake Eyes Ranch. Mr. Ernst just didn't know about any of this, that their water supply
He's
is being
oblivious.
drained.
Well, she says something along the lines of, it's down 4 inches from last week.
Yeah.
And I was certain Mr. Ernst would go, well, no, 4 inches actually is a lot when you really think about it.
Yeah, I thought so too.
It's like
but
evaporation. You know,
he
it's like
starts to rationalize it and just ignore the problem, essentially. When in fact, what's gone up 4 inches is Mr. Ernst sitting on that baseball. I don't know why I'm really adamant about this, guys. It's
That's
a
fine.
weird direction to take it.
I'm warming to it.
You got to keep yourself happy.
We find out a little bit more about why the water supply is being cut off from Lucy at this point. And that's because the Snake Eyes Ranch is helmed by the Vleck boys. That's Father Vic Vleck and sons Carl Vleck and Lonnie Vleck, and they're all unrepentant assholes.
Yeah.
They're just scumbags, the dregs of the world. We're going to meet them here before long. And they've been directing people away from the Barn on Ranch by posting signs and pulling pranks and things like that. And that's actually costing Mr. Ernst money, so it's a good thing Lucy brought this up. But the good thing is they at least now know what the problem is. And the Vleck boys, it turns out, actually have a little bit of a business plan in mind, and Lucy lets Mr. Ernst know about it.
I just don't understand what's so important about this little drippy old creek.
Well, the Vleck boys want to flood 3 acres of their land and build a monster truck mud bog race.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm on the Vleck side at this
Mhm.
point. I think Snake Eyes Ranch is probably the better ranch. So the Barn on Ranch has like a lasso and some desert stuff and a bell tower.
Walkie-talkies.
The Snake Eyes Ranch has something called a monster truck mud bog race.
No, I do have to say it's probably a little bit illegal and immoral to put a sign up, a handwritten sign at that says another business that you're competing with is closed,
Yeah.
and to come to yours instead. So that was the part where I was a little bit unsure if the Vlecks were on the up and up.
I don't think anything about the Vleck screams on the up and up, to be honest. Lucy actually got this information also, and I hope you guys notice this, because she's friends with the Snake Eyes Ranch head wrangler.
Mhm.
I didn't notice that.
Mm-hmm.
You have a head wrangler, you have an assistant wrangler,
Yeah.
some associate wranglers.
Which
So many
actually, does that mean
wranglers.
Lucy is the head wrangler at Bar None?
She wrangles Mr. Ernst. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Do you think?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
No, I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
He
Lucy's
wouldn't
Lucy's
have
too much
he
woman
wouldn't,
for him.
He wouldn't have rebounded that quickly either. He's still grieving from his divorce.
That's
Mhm.
true. Plus, he's into that baseball at this point in time, mostly romantically. Mr. Ernst thinks at this point he can actually handle the situation reasonably. Because surely Vic Fleck, this important businessman at Snake Eyes Ranch, is a reasonable man. So he calls him on his rotary phone. Presumably, he got his Rolodex out and avoided calling the Cacti Ticketing Agency again.
Do you, real quickly, did you happen to look in the credits how Fleck is spelled?
It is Vleck.
Oh, I thought it was with an H, and that bothers me that I guessed wrong. So it's Vic Fleck.
Vic Fleck, yes.
Vic Fleck with a K.
Yeah, and when Mr. Ernst calls him, well, Fleck immediately overreacts and says he's coming to Bar None to wail on him. Mr. Ernst hopes that's good. Somehow. I don't really understand how that possibly could be.
I think he interpreted as like wailing and crying.
Yeah. He said, I've
Yeah.
seen a grown man cry, but not wailing.
But
Yeah.
not wail on somebody.
So he
like
thought
bludgeon.
he thought he was really gonna just come and pour his soul out to him. I
But
guess.
I think Ernst knows deep down what's about to happen.
Sure.
And at this point, I think, I wonder when we're going to meet the Flecks in this episode. Well,
That's
pretty
my
much-
favorite Ben Stiller movie.
Meet the Flecks.
Well, we do know a lot of Ben Stiller movies, as it turns out.
Apparently, yes.
That's a little bit of a. I know some shows he's been on too, like the Ben Stiller show. That's one of them, anyway. Well, we're going to meet the Flecks right now because our next scene is introduced with a whomping country guitar lick that rules as the Flecks roll up in their just beat up old pickup truck.
Which only one door works. They have
Yeah.
to come out the driver's
They all
side.
pile, which I thought was a really good detail.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they all have to pile out the one door. I mean,
It's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I see where
the
you're
boys
getting at.
smashing each other's face to get out.
Like
Okay,
mushing into
so-
the window.
Now, granted, when the damage happens, Vic Fleck is fucking pissed. Like, how dare you tarnish my pristine truck?
My chariot.
It's worth at least $50.
He absolutely loves that fucking truck. That's the thing. Well, this immediately escalates into conflict. Fleck and his children get out of the truck. Fleck has a plaid shirt that's tucked into his pants. It's pretty great. He has two sons of very different sizes, a big older one wearing a cowboy hat, and a small little sniveling one wearing a baseball hat. And they're just cackling the whole time. Vic is the angriest man alive. And at this point, a baseball, as Spencer alluded to, flies in the air and strikes Vic's shitty truck. Melody hit this one too.
Again, Melody's fucking Babe Ruth.
Yeah, she's an amazing hitter. One of the best in league.
Okay, let me say this. With the way they kept setting this up in the beginning of the show, Melody hit their first home run. And this
Yeah.
one, she crushes another ball. I thought, oh, okay, so they're going to set this up as girls can't play baseball. She's going to hit the winning home run. They don't even remotely do that. She gets like a single or something.
Yeah,
Well,
she
she-
contributes.
I think, we're overreacting to this power streak Melody's having. She's more of an OBP-centered hitter.
Sure, that's fair. Occasionally
So-
get into one.
She does get on base in an important spot.
Yeah, okay, fair.
So we will give Melody that. Vic, though, isn't going to give anybody anything, is he?
This is a hard ball, you hairball. Look what you've done to my vehicle. Oh, this is gonna cost you, Ernst.
Oh, it's going to cost you, Ernst.
Okay, so the actor that plays Vic Fleck is a guy named Paul Seacrest. He didn't do anything else, but
Huh.
I wish that he had.
Yeah.
And we talked about how Danny's acting is very wooden
Mhm.
in Hey Dude. Well, this guy, this Paul Seacrest, every scene he's Yosemite Sam.
200% every time.
Except for the very end when he
Right.
changes immediately,
And
which
but
I
he
can't
still
wait to talk about.
he
that.
still reads his lines like this.
Yeah,
though.
it's just we'll get into that later.
Oh.
I thought that was great how they wrote him kind of just inconsistently.
Yeah, everything about the Flex is just the best, and the inconsistency in character, the tone here from Vic, who's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you." This whole episode,
There's
I
just
was,
a fist shaking.
yeah,
There
I
has
was
to be.
just enamored. So Vlek is pissed at this point. You guys just heard it. He asked Mr. Ernst if he likes games. Does he like baseball games? And at this point, I think that there's a possibility that Mr. Vlek's going to turn into Jigsaw.
I was just going to do
From-
that.
from
Do you
the
want to
song,
play a game,
yeah.
Mr. Ernst?
And Mr. Ernst is going to be
That would've
taking
been a
keys
lot
out of his
more-
eyeball and like shredding his arm through razor blades just to save his son's life.
It would have made a lot more sense for how nasty his character is, but instead he's like, "What about some baseball? Let's play some good old fashioned baseball."
Yeah, he asks Ernst if he likes baseball, but Ernst replies that he's more of a hockey man.
Liar.
Which there's no way. And this
He's
is
afraid.
Twice in our first couple dozen episodes of Boob Tube Boys. Willie Tanner's the other one, where some total fucking nerd tries to claim they have a history as a hockey player.
Now, in this one, I feel like, and I might be projecting, I feel like he's just too afraid to discuss his past with baseball. Like he's scared that he failed at it. So he doesn't want to admit that he likes it, maybe.
Yeah,
like
he doesn't want to
get into
unearth that part of his past.
He's got denial going on. So
but he is definitely.
I thought that's maybe what he was going for there.
He is definitely a Willie Tanner type. I can't believe it didn't get in my head, but it's very much the same vibe.
He's just not depressed yet. He's covering it up with all this manic action, which later really costs him.
He hasn't had Alf rip the joy straight out of his body.
Not yet. Vic angrily says, look, dude, you didn't play hockey. He doesn't say that, but I wish that he had. And he suggests the two ranches, Snake Eye Ranch and Bar None, compete in a baseball game. And whoever wins doesn't have to pay for the damages on the truck. The loser has to deal with that shit. And Mr. Ernst doesn't want to do that. Vic, though, is, you're not going to believe this, real mad and says he's going to get a lawyer. And it's at this point that Jake, that nephew that no one remembers being in the episode, kind of prods Mr. Ernst and says, come on, Uncle Ernst, you're not going to do anything? Which is the first time in this episode that something like that happens to the very passive, and I can understand that part of Mr. Ernst. So after prodded, Mr. Ernst says, well, tell you what, we'll play you guys in a baseball game if you throw in undamming the fucking creek in the wager so that we can actually have our water supply. Our water supply is down. Vic turns to his just hobo sons and asks them if they can win. They nod, and Vic cackles and says they accept the terms of this wager and drive off in their truck to that same kick-ass song that brought them in the first place. What a scene, guys.
Yeah, just that.
I love this whole scene.
It was great.
This is this is the most fun thing we've seen so far in Hey Dude, and it's right up there with any of it. So Mr. Ernst knows he's got to get his troops ready for battle. And we see a Bar None baseball practice.
They do have their own jerseys.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Were those just ready beforehand?
Probably.
When did that... Was he just assuming this baseball standoff would come to pass?
It happens twice a year.
But the
just
kind
different
of stuff
neighbors.
that Mr. Ernst preoccupies him with when he probably has a business to actually run, I would believe that if he's like, well, one day we're going to need baseball jerseys.
And cool name, too, the Bar None Brawlers. That's awesome. I love it.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't mind it at all.
Danny can't act, but he can probably kick some ass.
Also, he looked
I would
pretty
hope
smooth
so.
catching a baseball in the outfield in this
Yeah,
practice.
he looks like maybe
he was one of the more comfortable
before.
ones. Some of them not so much, but he looked fine out there. He can't act, but he can play some baseball.
Before they actually get to going and everyone's getting ready, Mr. Ernst decides to regale his troops, his players, with tales of baseball players past. Because Mr. Ernst and his son Buddy, they do love the game, no matter what. So luminary Hall of Fame caliber players are brought up, like Davey Johnson and Ron Darling. For whatever the reason, those are the players Ernst fixates on.
I don't know why, but I really like Ron Darling being
It's
at
super weird.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he has to make the Bill Buckner line when it turns out that he can't really play defense.
He twice references the 1986 World Series, which had just happened at this point. First, when he mentions Davey Johnson leading the Mets to the World Series after previous failures, which is kind of foreshadowing for this episode. And then later, when he himself takes to the field and makes an error, letting a ball go between his legs, he says, hey, this is an example of the error Bill Buckner made that lost the 86 World Series for the Red Sox.
Now, to his credit, that infield is just sand.
Yeah, it looks tough.
That is not a baseball field.
Now, what about his form, though? I don't know that I agree with his infielder form.
His
I
technique.
don't think he really looked like he was in the right position to catch that ball.
His delivery was better later on when he pitches like Paul Bird.
There's a lot of great stuff here. This whole scene is essentially a montage to show Mr. Ernst manically
He's
leaping.
lied.
He's leaping around. He's telling him how much he loves baseball. He's telling stories about baseball players. So
And how he was on a team, right? He has a backstory.
Jake starts it, and the rest of the kids start to prod him. Like, did you used to play? You played in college, right? And he kind of dodges the issue. But they start noticing problems, like how he seems kind of, I don't know, terrible at baseball as he fields, hits, pitches, all of it. And eventually, something's got to give. And Jake says, look, man, what is up here? And Mr. Ernst admits it finally. He only played one game for a team, I swear to God, he calls the Digit Heads.
I remember that, yeah.
I guess it's a team of accountants. I'm not really sure. Again, what league is this that he was playing?
There are no answers for these questions.
Double A.
I wish there were.
And
2 steps
remember,
away.
by the way, he said something about this being the championship game of
Yeah.
whatever it is.
But it's his
And they
first
let him-
game.
But it's his
That's-
first game. Yeah,
yeah.
They're like, oh, it's all right. It's your first game. It's our championship game, the most important one.
Yeah.
Have your first try.
I feel like the writers of this episode were like, let's pick a sport we've never watched.
Or know nothing
and,
about.
yeah, and let's just go with that. Turns out Mr. Ernst, though, he choked in that game. And right after that, Coach Flubbs cut him.
In front of his family, apparently, like
Yeah.
right after the game.
And
That
I wonder if
actually
he meant
was-
he cut him physically with like a knife.
That actually struck me, like the way he finally admits that to like everybody when he says, I was cut in front of my whole family. I've never played baseball since I was like,
I was
This
cut in
is-
front of my family.
it's some sort of traumatic event where I was, and he said it, he delivered it kind of slowly and sadly. It was like, wow, this guy's been carrying this all these
Mr.
years.
Ernst has been through a lot.
I was actually really kind of upset for Mr. Ernst. I was like, oh no. And he loves baseball. It's clear he's such a fan of baseball.
He really is.
And that was his backstory of it. It's kind of sad,
Yeah.
that little moment.
He clearly had a case of the yips or something. And for some reason, all of the staff members of Bar None, who were kind of friends with Mr. Ernst, just kind of walk off.
They're
after he-
disgusted.
Yeah. After he
Because they
admits his
thought he
previous
was going to
failure.
help them win this game. They were
Yeah.
like, we're going to beat them because Mr. Ernst used to play.
I'll bet he can get a
collegiately.
ringer
But look at Mr. Ernst. Why would he be good at a sport?
at anything, really.
He's a 30 at this point, like 37-year-old man who looks 47 and acts 57.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I think when I said he looked older, it's probably just his personality.
His actions have a lot to do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's true.
Mr. Ernst is dejected. He takes a seat on the baseball diamond with his son, Buddy. They talk about maybe even calling off the big game. Like, maybe we can't do this. I can't play. The team's confidence is
Oh, don't
down.
call it off. Never give up hope.
I mean, in the water situation, we're running out of water too, so maybe we have to play the game. Underneath this the whole time is a beautiful Casio version of the theme song, which is playing slowly and wistfully in the background. And I love this faux emotional scene of Mr. Ernst recounting his past failures and having to meet them head on. At this point, Lucy rides up on a horse, a pretty cool horse, with, as they all are, with more bad news, though. The Snake Eyes Ranch got a ringer. They got Vleck's brother-in-law, and that's fucking Bobby Bulp.
Shit.
Number 49 for the Wildcats. That's Ernst's favorite team, too. So, add insult to injury. Ernst says he's heard Bulp is a real wild man and once ate a catcher's mitt whole.
I mean, they're pretty good.
That's actually in this episode.
I
somehow.
did notice that. I kind of just overlooked it.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. So Bobby Bulp, I guess, gets probably drunk and eats gloves or something. And his
Well,
name-
we have baseball players eating lizards in real life, so
That's
why not?
true.
Why not a catcher's mitt?
Yeah, that's why not a catcher's mitt?
Why
That's
not
a good
catcher's
platform
mitt?
to run for office, honestly. So Ernst gets this bad news, and you know what? This fires Mr. Ernst up. He said, you know what? The Snake Eyes Ranch wants to fucking nab the best player on my favorite team, the Wildcats, Bobby Bulp. I'm going to go out and get the best player on the Tucson Tornadoes. That's Frankie Flash McGuire.
I have to think the Tucson Tornadoes are not a great baseball
He hit
team.
315 last year.
315. That's their big
Well,
thing, too.
my thought too is like, how is he just able to be like, I'm assuming semi-professional baseball player, and he's just gonna go ask him like, hey, can you play in this stupid baseball game between me and my
And
ranch,
it's very
my
stupid.
ranch competitor? And the guy's like, yeah, sure, my shoulder's hurt, and I might lose my qualification ability to play my next game, but yeah, I'm gonna do your stupid game. How is he able? What sway does he have that they can get Flash McGuire himself to play in this game? I was not sure how that just happened.
Presumably based on his shape, they just offered him a case of beer.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, how is it Flash? What's he? What? Anyway,
I'll
sorry,
go ahead and
ahead.
just get to that. So after Flash is on board, Mr. Ernst brings him in and introduces him to the team. And I mean, you guys are just right on the money. They introduce Flash McGuire, and he is the most out of shape person I've ever seen. I don't mean like that this is like a guy who weighs a lot or whatever.
No,
I mean,
it's
this
not
is a
even
guy
that.
who just has not exercised in a long time.
He's
He's
kind
got
of big.
He's got a,
Yes.
And
yeah.
he's black. I think they thought like, if he's black, we'll take him seriously as an athlete.
He's got a real water ring around the middle. I mean, he is thick through the middle. Flash, again, like, there's no way there's any speed in McGuire's game.
I think that also indicates that the writers didn't necessarily know how to demonstrate like a good baseball player. Maybe they
No.
just kind of they thought, we can get this guy and he'll look like. And he was so bad at reading his lines. I thought he might have been somebody. I thought because he was so terrible, and he was like, "Hey kids, let's do our training." I was like, maybe this is like a guy that's like 10 years out of
The Hey Dude
baseball.
producers were like, we need a guy who neither looks like an athlete or speaks like an actor.
Yeah, it's very strange. Someone must have known him, but yeah, I was very confused and amused by this whole thing.
I looked him up because I thought
I
the
did
same thing.
too.
I was like, this guy has to be
Nope.
an old player. No, this is his only acting credit.
Yeah.
This is the only thing he's done. He died a couple of years ago. So literally it's his obituary that pops up. Then it's like, hey, dude, that's all the guy did. So he's not a baseball player in any stretch of the imagination.
So this is like 1990. I feel like, again, maybe the producers also were like, can you get us somebody who looks like Bo Jackson? And they got one part of it right.
Which part?
I don't know. I feel like one, though, probably.
Probably one.
Maybe the skin color.
Roughly,
I don't know.
yeah.
What's
Okay.
funny though is they definitely made sure, and there was a plot part that we'll get into it later. They made sure to never show him doing any real baseball
Yeah.
things. He hits
No.
fungos to the kids or whatever, but he never did anything, and I'm pretty sure it's because he couldn't have.
The idea of any professional level of team also being like, this is our star player. Like,
Go ahead and borrow him.
you're already hurt. Go play for
Yeah.
go play the ranch off baseball game.
In the field with 30-foot base lengths.
Just send him there by himself.
Mr. Ernst gives him the biggest fucking introduction to. He's again like
Yes.
always leaping
It's
around
Flash
and screaming.
McGuire. Of course he got
That's
the
true,
introduction.
Spencer. I will give you that. I'll give you that. After Mr. Ernst leaps around and stuff, Hey Dude busts out apparently an increase in its graphic budget, and we get a spinning baseball.
Twice.
That-
It happens twice in it.
And that spinning baseball sends us into the big game, guys. And before we get into the big game, we better get into a big break.
Till the break of day.
Better watch out for those man-eating jackrabbits.
Fans are gathering in the stands to see bar
The
none.
stands.
Bleachers? I don't know.
The nothing. There's
Cacti?
nothing
Well,
anywhere.
there was like 8 people there. It wasn't much of a crowd.
Look,
Just sitting on a cactus.
Look, we're setting a scene, guys.
I know,
This
it
is
was
like
great. You
this
did
is-
it better than Vin Scully
this-
himself.
This is like a teleplay that Ernst can't hear on his broken radio. Ever. This thing doesn't get fixed. More on that later. So fans are gathering. Both teams do have uniforms. You mentioned the bar none uniforms. I'd like to mention that the Snake Eyes uniforms fucking rule.
Yeah.
Except their hats are blue and their shirts are black. It doesn't match.
No,
It's
I
just like,
kinda
well, we
like
got a
that,
dark
too.
color. It's interesting, but
It reminds me of
made
the
me laugh.
Rockies and their purple hats that they sometimes
Oh,
have with
yeah.
the black jerseys, or that they have done in the past. I'm not sure. But they're pretty cool. Fleck notices, Mr. Ernst got his own ringer. I got Bobby Bulp, and he's got Frankie Flash, 280 pounds McGuire on his team. Oh, boy. And I also wondered if this is difficult for Mr. Ernst here as a Wildcats fan, because he's got to root for Flash, who's a Tornadoes player.
Mhm.
And
But
against Bulp, who's a Wildcats player and renowned catcher's mitt eater.
what if they did this whole thing where they set up these two fake people as great baseball players, and then they just didn't acknowledge it, but in the background, like one of the first basemen is Frank Thomas or something, like a real baseball
Yeah, that would
player?
be awesome.
I honestly did expect someone important to be in this
I did too.
when they started building that up. I really thought, like, who's it going to be
I
from
knew-
this time period?
Cal Ripken.
One thing
The
I
important
knew,
thing, boys and girls, is to just play every day forever until you die.
your hair will go gray when you're 23.
Pretend that you're healthy at all times.
I, like you guys, really thought there'd be a Major League Baseball cameo, and I was kind of excited for who it could be. And then first I thought, well, it's not going to be too marquee of a name.
Sure.
No.
Because we've already heard the names that have been mentioned by Mr. Ernst, Davey Johnson and Ron Darling.
Do you think I'd get their permission to mention them even? In
They
that,
were
in that
probably
show?
really fired up about
Yeah, it
We're
must
gonna
have
be
been
like, hey,
exciting.
dude.
it. Yeah. Well,
Wonder-
listen to is Davey Johnson been on anything else?
Yeah.
No. I wonder if they know.
The Black
Like, I wonder
Pearl
if
or
that's
whatever.
like a thing he's most proud of. Like, Davey Johnson's like, well, I managed a World Series team. I got back there again in like 2012 with the Nationals, and I was mentioned in Hey Dude. That's part of us.
I hope it's
his
on his Wikipedia.
biography.
I hope it's on his baseball reference page somehow.
Well, like Tommy Lasorda produced this show, of course, so there's that too.
That explains why Mike Piazza is kind of a background actor in several scenes.
He's a ranch hand.
The nepotism continues.
Yeah, he homered in one of these baseball scenes, actually.
It's just he and Melody homering.
And
constantly.
those fences were like 100 feet or something.
Yeah,
So,
I can hold
5 feet.
left-handed
like
there. That's bad.
Piazza would have hit one like into a different, like a total
Ranch.
different range. He would have hit it at the Snake Eyes range.
See?
all the way to
He
the,
would have dented that truck again.
He would have.
Mr. Vleck's truck, he would have hit
Plunked
it again.
right into Credence Creek.
Oh, I thought that was really funny. I actually like that when they called it Credence Creek.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
even catch that.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That's fun. You know what's not fun? Bullying. The snakes are kind of bullying the bar nun kids, calling them things like sissy boy
They're mean.
and being openly sexist.
Girls playing baseball.
Next thing you know, they want to be in the army.
Lonnie, they are in the army.
Nah.
These are the Vleck boys in uniform.
I like how one of the Black boys actually knows, though. He's like, "Oh, you're wrong about that."
That-
Like, he
that's
corrects
grossly
it.
inappropriate.
I don't know whether the older one or the younger one, which one's Lonnie
I
and which
can't
one's
tell.
Carl, who knows. But like again, they have watched their father's acting performance and they are following suit to a T. It's great.
That's true.
They're just chomping on that scenery.
Big
and
fan
it's
of the
a pleasure.
Vlecks. The Vlecks.
Yeah, the Vlecks are wonderful.
That's actually a joke in the early part of it where he says that Lucy tells Mr. Ernst, like their combatants or whatever, and he's like, the Blacks? Like, he doesn't understand how to say their name, and I just now did it. I just called them the Blacks. So
We have
I get it
amazing
now.
names in this episode. Vleck, Bulp,
Yeah,
Flash.
was
the
good,
Bolt
yeah.
thing is really weird to me. I'm not sure what. Like, I keep thinking Bobby Bow.
This
or
is
Bobby
another one I
Bonilla.
had to go backward on. Yeah, Bobby Bulp also might still be getting paid by the
Hey Dude producer.
yeah, just like Bobby Bonilla is getting paid for the Mets.
They wrote him out of his Hey Dude contract and
Yeah.
bought him out.
It was all part of the deal. He signed a really lucrative deal at the time. Well, no baseball game can start officially without paying tribute to Mother America.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the
Oh,
I feel so patriotic right now.
A
And just
tear
after the
came to
4th
my
of
eye.
July.
I'm going to go invade a country. That's how
Yeah.
patriotic I feel.
I'm gonna
Let's
go.
expand beyond Missouri. Let's go further west.
I'm gonna go.
Oregon will be mine.
I'm gonna go put my thumb on the third world. I'll be right back. So now that Mr. Ernst has warbled through the worst rendition of the national anthem, maybe since that famous Roseanne one or something, we actually get to see some baseball montage scenes. That's fun,
Yay.
right?
I love him.
But not actually before. I forgot one thing that's really important, which is Vleck gives a little speech to Mr. Ernst that he fucking hates baseball and he's going to beat him at it anyway. And he really just wishes he could get back to his mud bog project, which I also wish that he could do.
That's a tough one. All right, we're all baseball fans here. We're
Yeah.
all clearly mud bog monster truck
Well,
fans
a
here.
few
Definitely.
times.
Which do you prefer?
I don't see why we can't have both.
I was going to say
Diplomat.
the same thing. Let's
Yeah.
combine them. Mud bog, monster truck.
That would actually be
baseball.
fascinating. I feel like that would be a video game. There were some arcade video games like in the early 90s when we
That
were all
would fit
growing
right
up.
in.
You know, like I probably have mentioned this to you guys before, but there was a robot baseball game. It's like Super Baseball 2020.
Oh,
it was
we
like
played
it was like 1982,
Mhm.
and you could hit as like cyborgs, and there were women. It was very progressive. You
Van
could
and I
hit as-
played this game like a year ago.
It's amazing.
Was
Yeah.
it Bill Lambier Combat Basketball?
We played
No.
that too.
I know you have.
We
yeah.
played that several years
I was trying to.
Oh, yeah,
I was trying to prompt you into that one there.
Get a plug in for Bill Lambier's combat basketball. Also.
Get in touch with the building.
No, but I just kind of felt like this concept here is something in that realm. Where
Sure.
I think we're creating a new sport entirely. So why pick? Why have to-
Basketball right here.
I
Sure,
mean,
we
in
need
this
a movie.
version of baseball shown in Hey Dude, also like you can be any age, size, anything, and be on these teams. So
You can be bad at baseball and
you
be on the
so
team.
being a robot's not too much of a stretch.
You could even be the manager, as we'll soon discuss.
yeah.
One
The
thing
rules don't say anything about it.
I'll
Also-
interrupt here too, real quick. One thing I forgot to mention, and I think this will endear Brian to Dr. House a little more.
Oh,
By the
Okay.
way, I have, since we did House, been watching a lot of House. I started right at the very beginning, episode 1, and I'm now halfway through season 2, I believe.
Wow.
One thing I forgot about Dr. House is that he fucking loves monster truck shows.
Okay, well that's cool.
He even
That
took
is a
Dr.
nice-
Cameron to one, and he like has a little TV he hides, and he'll watch monster truck rallies. Yeah,
That's
I
pretty
actually
great.
think the actor who plays Vic has a perfect voice to maybe announce monster truck
Sure.
rallies,
yeah.
or be a wrestler,
Or be a monster truck.
or a monster truck baseball wrestler.
like a transformer type thing where you can morph into it.
Franken truck. Yes.
We have to save the universe from the beat boops. Vic Vleck robot.
From the digit heads or
From the-
whatever that
yeah.
other team was.
Mr. Ernst's old team. Mr. Ernst is hoping his new team does a little better than his old team did. We get the montage scenes. People are hitting baseballs, catching them, missing them, pitching them, that sort of thing.
Running the
Eating-
15 feet to the next base.
Yeah, we really can't tell like who's winning or anything like that. It's-
Eating catcher's mitts. That's
Eating-
also
yeah.
happening.
It's
it's-
40 runs for each team at this point.
It's kind of another scene where we get a sense that no one involved with this knew anything about baseball.
Oh, isn't there a spot where one of them says, I don't remember the exact verbiage, I meant to write it down, but it's something like, we've got one more squad point than you. Like, it doesn't say a run
there
or
is some
anything.
awkward phrasing.
There's a
and then-
couple of them. They talk about timeouts. They do a coin
yeah,
toss.
that's your last
The coin
time
toss.
They
out.
do a coin toss to decide who hits first.
I
Which,
guess
mean,
that's a softball thing.
can't we just agree this is our home field or it's yours? Like I don't know. I don't like it.
Well, we
None of
weren't
us
at
have
Citi
ever
Field.
played. That's true, and none of us have ever played ranch ball before.
Rules are different in ranch ball.
My favorite part of all the montage scenes though is when superstar Bobby Bulp homers flat-footed. He just like does not
He's
move
that
his lower
strong.
body.
He's just that strong.
He looks like man, that guy. Something about the way he was shaped did an uncanny valley deep within me. And I was like, ooh, I don't like this. Like it gave me just fits inside.
Bulp
the
and
really
Flash,
lanky
neither
guy.
one are athlete.
Really
types.
lanky white guy who unplugs Ernst's microphone when he's singing the national anthem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
He's
so.
a wild man.
Big head
I at least didn't eat the microphone after he unplugged it.
that we know of.
True. Yeah, it could have happened afterwards.
Well, it's time though, guys. Apparently the game is tied or something.
Oh no. Is this a redemption story?
Yes, actually, as it turns out, we're in the final inning or something. Again, the rules aren't explained. Neither is
Quarter.
the score. Yeah, it's the second or third half. Third half. As it turns out.
That's great.
I mean, that works for hockey, so Mr. Ernst would understand, apparently.
When Mel is up, she's up to bat. We kind of foreshadowed this earlier. She needs to get on base so Flash can come up to bat and drive her in.
I love this pep talk that Mr. Ernst gives her. It's
Yeah,
very gentle, isn't it? He's basically saying, if you don't get on base,
yeah.
my business is going under. My life is ruined. Like,
We'll
he
all
screams at
die
her.
of a drought.
Katie and I was watching this with me, and she was like, well, yeah, let's put no pressure on her
Yeah.
to sit bat here.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
we've
a
already
manager
discussed
does.
Melody is very likable.
Yeah.
And also very flustered easily, as
It's
we
what-
saw in the first episode.
It's what Yohan Moncada gets from Tony La Russa before at bats. He's like, listen, Yohan, if you don't get to hit this at bat, sipping a back of beer, we're all going under. This is on you, buddy.
Anyway,
You'll probably have to go back to your country.
I live here now. Whatever.
You're
anyway, pass me another bottle.
You don't look like me. Give me my keys.
You don't look like me.
Well, I just feel like the best thing I can do right now is to drive some. Melody needs to get on base, but first the catcher needs to pick his nose and hit on her. And then she finally steps up to the plate, and she does get on base. She laces what?
That's
I
a
mean,
bomb.
we don't see it, but it's like a single, probably a double.
She
I think
hit
it'd be
him
a
hard.
double based on how she ran, but also there were no taken pitches. Again, I thought this was the moment. She was going to be the hero, and then she walks up, boom, gets her hit. Okay. we're
It's
gonna-
all
Yeah.
for Flash.
Now it is
Yeah, it's all for Flash.
all for Flash. I'm not criticizing the way the arc went, but it just, I don't know, it miffed me. I thought they really were going to go that way with the girls can't play baseball.
Yeah,
She's hitting
that
home runs.
when they said that when the Vlek boys were saying girls can't play baseball, I thought right then and there, I actually didn't think that it was I thought it was a Mr. Ernst redemption arc
Mhm.
before that.
But
When
after
that was
I didn't
said-
think it was going that far.
Yeah, I
with
didn't
with
either.
his redemption arc.
Whenever that was uttered, though, I thought, oh, Melody wins the game, but probably Mr. Ernst does get something positive.
Right.
I thought he might get hit by a pitch and
Or-
get on base.
That would have been funnier.
He takes
Yeah.
solace in the fact that he's a big old nerd and that he succeeded in his management.
Sure,
Right.
he guided his ranch to victory. That would have been enough.
But it's not how this unfolds. Mr. Ernst is talking to Flash and trying to pump him up, and Flash is
grabbing on Flash.
grabbing him,
Aggressively.
touching him, grabs his penis, and Flash says, "Will you just calm the fuck down? Like, go get a juice or something." That's not what Mr. Ernst does. He flails and leaps about and strikes Flash in his injured shoulder.
Which has to be just attached by threads.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
sitting in
sort of.
that hard.
It's a great line too. Ow, my shoulder.
Yeah,
That's how he
just in
says it.
case we were wondering what happened.
Now I did forget that little setup that they had when he comes, everyone says, his shoulders are very weak. We have to be careful.
You
Yeah.
forgot about that.
I know. It was
even
the
better.
most obvious setup, and I totally forgot. And then Mr. Ernst does that. It was like, oh, it's all coming to fruition now. The writer's grand plan. So I realized what was happening here. And this is great, though. The discussion they have when he's injured and they don't have any substitutes, or they're like,
Oh, it's amazing.
well, a manager can play.
Yes. Just like the majors.
I was gonna say, did you guys see that game last week where Charlie Ernst hit a grand slam and the White Sox came to win it in walk-off fashion? It was just
I remember all the time when a Jim Leland or a
Bobby Cox came
Yeah.
out there and won it with David Justice hurt on the sidelines.
when Whitey Herzog stole third in that key situation.
Look,
In the
Dusty
85
Baker
World
can
Series.
put down a bunt better than anybody.
Yeah, that was a really funny thing. How they're like, no, you can put your manager in.
Yeah, this is a real Airbud can play basketball moment.
But it sets up this great redemption story, of course.
It does. Jake also prods this on, saying, come on, Uncle Ernst, go get in the game and do it. So after a lot of hemming and hawing, Mr. Ernst steps up to the plate. Vic is pitching, of course, because he's got to be central to this scene, and he has what we in the baseball industry call not a pitcher's body.
What's really funny, though, is that you didn't know before this that Vic has apparently been pitching this entire time. I
No,
guess.
or maybe
Just
like
this
a-
moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't throwing a perfect game because there were clearly home runs
Over
It's
and
like
over
20
again.
to 20, and Vic's out there.
If he's pitched this whole game, he's not very good.
Maybe he's the shutdown closer.
Yeah,
You
he's
don't know.
He
the
could
stopper.
be.
He's
Maybe.
coming in there to.
He was playing shortstop before this.
Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn right here. Yeah.
Well, Fat Black says, "Your history" to Ernst. And he delivers his ugly pitch,
It was a
which
screwball.
I guess Mr. Ernst like homers on or something.
It's
Well,
hard
he
to tell.
takes two first
Yeah.
because this is parodying or mirroring Casey at bat or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, no.
Oh, you're
He
right.
had that
it is.
moment of
Yeah.
introspection. No. Wait for it. The best pitch will come to me. Takes two, gets two strikes, and then blam!
Just hits the
Yes,
crap out of it.
That's the best time to hit his 0-2.
So-
that's when you look for your pitch at
Mhm.
0-2.
Yep.
So earlier it's mentioned that Melody needs to get on base to be driven in by Flash. Well, Ernst drives in Melody. She scores, but that's not enough because I guess we still need another run, and that's Ernst parading all the way around the bases. And then I don't know if you guys felt this way or not, but Ernst dives into home plate head first unnecessarily, which they do mention. It's supposed to be a
Yeah,
joke. This dive scene just takes a really long time.
Way too long because he has to crawl
Yeah.
the rest of the
Yeah.
way.
He falls several feet short
Yeah,
of the
it's
plate.
supposed to be for humor's sake, but I was for some reason confused.
I was
like,
mostly frustrated. Like, are you going to get tagged out?
and no one
before you-
throws the ball home even.
No.
No, so he must have hit it out. But I also wondered, are they going to tag him out and also they'll only win by one? Like,
Yeah.
it was so
Oh, no.
confusing. It was so weird.
Yeah, none of the ground rules were. The scene was not set. The stage was not set either.
So, like, does the audience have no history of what baseball is? Yes.
I'm
We're
gonna.
good.
We'll go with this then.
I am going to throw this out there. We may be the most knowledgeable baseball fans who have ever watched Hey Dude.
That's fair.
I am going
think
to say that.
probably is true.
That's
which-
not even bragging.
No,
No,
That's just
it is
saying.
not.
We
I'm
have
just
cursory
saying, like,
knowledge.
I don't think anyone has ever. I don't think those two worlds have ever collided in this fashion.
No,
before.
you're just playing the odds here.
Yeah, like they couldn't have known that this would happen.
What's weird is
Especially
when I was
it's
watching
like
this,
30 years, 40 years later.
two of my primary interests were baseball and Hey Dude,
That's fair. Yeah.
which is pretty strange. The game's over now. The Barnum Ranch can finally celebrate their victory. They're going to get their water back. Vleck can pay for his own damn truck damage.
Also, he's fine with it.
Yeah, but
This
that's
is
the
what's
thing.
so great is how quick he's just fine with
Vleck's
everything.
been dastardly this whole time, but he shakes hands with Mr. Ernst.
He's
after
a
the
good
game.
sport.
He's
It's like,
a fair
oh, well,
competitor.
shucks. We didn't
You know,
win.
I didn't respect you, and then you beat me in a game I hate, and now we're cool.
He actually respects this and Ernst's business savvy to the point where he offers Mr. Ernst a spot. He offers him in on his monster truck business.
He just wants to keep the monster truck dream alive, though.
Yeah,
Like,
but-
he doesn't want to give up on the.
Yeah, he doesn't want to give up on his big dreams.
No.
Everybody's got him. Vleck's got him too. And with Vleck's are just a little more trashy than the rest of ours.
I think
little
he
more
even
muddy.
says something like, we can be equal partners.
70-30.
70-30.
Yeah,
He
and then I
comes down
think
to
it's the
60-40.
60-40.
Yes, he comes
Yeah.
down. He's a good negotiator.
Start high and move down. Yep.
It's one of those types of things. However, Mr. Ernst, he's got his own dreams too. He says, I can't do that, man.
Baseball.
And Vleck, he's cool with it, but he's disappointed. He says, oh, snake spit.
As
and-
one does. He didn't say rats.
No.
He said
No.
snakes.
That's
I
Mr.
would be
Ernst's
willing
line.
to bring in snake spit as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if people would understand. They would understand rats.
Venom.
Vlex says, hey, maybe we'll do a rematch one day. This was fun. And Mr. Ernst says, sure, whatever. The day is saved. Everything's going great. And everything's even going well for Vic. He's even seems to be working on different business ideas.
Well, boys, we can still build that skeet shooting range we was talking about last year. Yeah. Daddy, what's a skeet?
Daddy, what's a skeet?
It's one of my favorite parts of the episode. I just don't know. Yeah.
What is a skeet? It's a fist thing, right?
Yeah.
The skeet shooting. That's what I
I've
know.
seen people shoot at them before.
Also, that
Yeah.
circus
Have you
music
yourself?
in the background is really
Yeah.
great.
If I did, though, I'd crush it. I'd hit that skeet from a mile away.
Bang.
Use my sniper at the bell tower.
Yeah. Hey, this is a good time, based on what Spencer just said, as he's alluding to being quite the marksman.
Uh-huh.
Why don't you go to patreon.com/Bootu Inc. and you can actually hear about Spencer's marksmanship? Because if you become a patron, Boob Tube Boys, for as little as $2 a month, you can hear a bonus episode every week about nonsense. And one of them features a quiz where Spencer talks about firing.
It's the Walker
And
Texas
riding a
Ranger.
horse.
Yes.
And I didn't just fire a gun. I also rode a horse.
Now,
so.
this week we talked about our knowledge of the state of Missouri. So it's well worth it.
Really sell them on that, Brian. Yeah.
You'll
Everyone is like, oh, Missouri.
I've got to get in
Oh.
on this now. How much money will you take? Can I give you everything I have?
I was gonna say, for as little as 2 or as much as $1 million. If you wanna go, we'll take. There's no max on what. If you want to give us a lot, we'll take that too.
You will be as excited as Mr. Ernst, who gets lifted up by all of the camp counselors or whatever they are, the staff members at Barnum Ranch, and we get a freeze
The
frame
camp counselors.
to end our main plot. In the outro scene, Mr. Ernst thinks maybe his radio has been fixed by Danny,
I actually really like the scene.
and what we get
You just were
instead.
crying in joy. It was so great.
Yeah, it made listening to a radio look relaxing. Like he has the little picture out.
Yeah.
They set all that up. I was like, I want to listen to an FDR fireside chat right now.
And have my pitcher of soda sitting out in Arizona.
Sure,
with me.
soda.
We'll listen to the original broadcast of War of the Worlds. Yeah, so Mr. Ernst is outside lounging with a big pitcher of tea, getting ready to listen to that big Wildcats Tornadoes game. Everybody's fine. Flash's shoulder's fine, even if his stomach is still too big. But he doesn't know his radio really still is broken, but the kids are trying to make the best of it because they do feel bad. And they get some sort of elaborate system going here where Buddy has a telephone and he's getting information about the game and relaying it to the rest of the crew so they can announce it in fake crowd noises and baseball noises. And it takes a while before Mr.
Yeah, there's
Ernst
quite a
realizes this
delay.
isn't really the game.
As someone who's set up a podcast or a microphone, we'll just say that area with all the devices and the stuff you need, the cords and everything, it is true. All you have to do is take any microphone and cram a cord in the back of any radio,
Duh.
and it works.
I thought so.
Just shove stuff places and it'll work. That's the key to Hey Dude, actually. Any of Mr. Ernst's electronics.
Just shoved everywhere.
Yeah, they're all
And
just
that
way.
baseball, which was also shoved in a place earlier in the show.
So Mr. Ernst, though, he figures out it's the kids who are announcing the game because they want to do this for him, and they are the real game results. Buddy's getting them over the phone, and he is very heartwarmed by this. He finds it delightful. He smiles, and we get the closing song, which is, again, very shoddily made to some still images of this episode, and that is it for Dueling Ranches.
Man, baseball is always going to energize me to where I talk way too much.
Yeah.
We just babbled about baseball half this time.
I'm
Like
just going to tell
80% of the
you
time.
guys right now, this is one of my favorite episodes we have watched for the show so far in terms of how action-packed with just goofy stuff it
Mhm.
is, which is weird because the first Hey Dude episode we covered was just dead-ass boring.
It was straight, yeah. It was very dull. I was so disappointed after that because I had the same thoughts you did. Was I just stupid when I was
Yeah.
a kid? And I was stupid. You
Oh,
were
me
really
too.
smart.
You know what, kids? Very stupid.
They are stupid in general. But then I watched this and holy cow, I want to watch more Hey Dude.
Yeah. If they're like this, I probably would watch more. Ultimately, of course, we all probably will come down on the side of not doing that.
Oh,
so
yeah, certainly.
we're done
Well-
with Hey Dude now, so it's time to do our exit exam. So, Van, we'll go ahead and you're already halfway there. We'll start with you. We've talked about we've rated shows between 1 and 10. We've given general thoughts. We don't have a set way of doing this, but what are your overall impressions of Hey Dude revisiting it all these years later, having seen it as a kid?
I can't say I'm really shocked at how it is. It's exactly what I thought. It's kind of a campy, goofy kids show. It's more lighthearted than maybe I would have thought. That's not to say I wouldn't have thought it was lighthearted, but it was just so overly positive overall
Yeah.
that it just kind of struck me in that regard. But it was also, again, the second episode was fun. I enjoyed it. I had fun watching it. And that really took me by surprise. But overall, it is what I thought it was, which was the Mr. Ernst show, essentially.
It's a bad show. It's really not very good, but I'm not going to say that I didn't enjoy it. That's for sure. Like it falls into that category of I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to watch a Hey Dude episode. I'm not going to. But I have fond memories of it the same way when we watched California Dreams. I was like,
it's like harmless, pointless nothing.
And it feels perfectly fine. Sometimes it's comforting. And that's the good thing about these kind of shows. And I didn't really see a lot of these Nickelodeon type shows, so it was good to experience it. And I would be curious how they went in different directions. But yeah, I can't imagine there would be any way I could give it a passable rating because there was too much wrong with it.
Well, it's bad,
but it was very lovable. Danny was the best thing about it. His acting was on par with I don't know, I'd say Meryl Streep at the very least. It's a perfectly fun little waste of time.
It barely exists. It's just a kid show with not a lot to it. It's not very good. I was kind of surprised that it didn't have any of the Nickelodeon stuff in it, like
slime.
No slime, no kind of alternative attitude that a lot of the Nick shows would later develop. But when I found out the show was made in 89 to 91, it made a lot more sense to me. That kind of was a little before they leaned into that element of Nickelodeon.
That was their formative years or whatever.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting that you mentioned, I think on last show, there was a cast reunion or something or other, which I guess got a lot of traction and people were excited for it. I wouldn't have thought this show would be one that there'd be a cult following for, to the extent there is. I could see doing exactly this. I have fond memories of it, but having a cult following is surprising.
That is kind of strange. I think it has to somewhat be on the half winking nature of our generation that remembers a lot of these shows that were made for us, then disappeared, and now they're all showing up on streaming services again. Something that is happening to every generation now, but is a new phenomenon.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. So yeah, that's Hey Dude. We've said all we can really say about it. This episode was a lot of fun. But in thinking about Hey Dude, I can't help but think about other shows we've covered, which makes me not be able to stop us from playing Swap Out.
Oh no.
Swap out.
Swap Out is a segment in which we can kind of suppose characters from shows we've watched into other shows we've watched. So, for instance, you might like to play around with the idea of Alf being Dr. House. I believe we've discussed that, actually, on a previous episode. That's an example. It's just kind of a fun little exercise to get us talking about the absurdity of these shows we're watching. Who wants to start us out with something they might be toying around with in their mind?
I can toss one out there.
Do it.
Maybe not the best one, but imagine you're at Prince Poro Plains Hospital or whatever, and you've got a malady. Teaching hospital. You've got a malady. You can't figure out what it is. You're dying. Who do you turn to? Dr. Ernst. And he just bumbles his way through everything, but fortunately he has a good supporting cast that figures this out, and somehow
otherwise
he has 8 seasons.
Everyone would actually leave more injured than before, just like Flash.
Yeah, that's actually terrifying to think of somebody as indecisive and insecure and just all over the
jittery.
place. Yeah,
presumably he's a cocaine addict. I'm not sure.
I could see that.
I think he should stick to the ranch and whatever accounting he did,
and baseball.
Yeah, he's bad at all those things. I guarantee it. I just don't think his accounting career was all he's made it out. I think he made that up just like the baseball career, to be honest. Dr. Ernst or Mr. Ernst.
Dr. Ernst.
I wrote it down as Dr. Ernst at some point by mistake. No joke.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
he's not to be trusted in any case.
So, he didn't get his doctorate.
So let's go back a few, and I want to apply the most recent one as well. Let's see. Let's go a long way back. What's the last show you did before House?
Xena and Hercules.
Okay.
2 shows.
Okay. This is perfect. Let's put Kevin Sorbo in Hey Dude. Now, can he manage the ranch better than Mr. Ernst, Dr. Ernst?
I don't know about better, but I think he could do it because we've seen movies where he just has a horse ranch.
Yeah.
He does kind of seem like a manager anyway of a ranch in some of those. So.
Also,
He's bossy.
He had a very deft hand managing half horses in the Hercules
That's
episode
true.
we watched.
He did.
And there may be some of those. We don't know. And hey, dude, if that happens.
And let's face it, Danny could not beat up Hercules.
No,
No.
And so this is a kind of a weak tie-in here, but his main assistant person was Lucy. Why don't we just go ahead and bring in Lucy Lawless? And
Yeah.
she's Kevin Sorbo's, I guess, his assistant.
Also,
although
being
it
a
would not.
capable, like, actually running the ranch woman, Lucy Lawless could do that.
Yeah, she would definitely be more. I would say she'd be the one who should be running the ranch and not Kevin Sorbo. But we have to go with the gender roles at the time. So
That's true.
That's what we're stuck with, where Lucy has to be the assistant who's actually much more competent.
Well, I was a little thrown off by Ted Raimi's portrayal of Joxer in the Xena episodes, and you obviously need a physical comedian for that role. So Kevin James is Joxer. What do you guys think about that? I think it would be a way to make the role bigger physically.
Okay, physically, yes, I can understand that. Get behind that.
Yeah, get someone not in the Raimi family involved.
I'm just picturing Kevin James in the stupid Joxer hat, this dipshit helmet, and I think that would be a good look for Kevin James.
Yeah, I've got to think so too. Also, obviously, Greg, the dad from Steven Universe,
As Greg House.
Some of the
That's a great one. Yeah.
some of the roles I'd like to propose for him are all of them. If we could make him into some sort of real life actor.
Yeah, some of these work with any of them. When the character gets especially nuanced and they're really specific, like House, for instance, he has all his
quirks.
Yes, he has all his behaviors. And Columbo's like that too. When you start thinking about really changing them with anyone, it gets very funny, which is why, for instance, like any kind of personality, like Mr. Ernst trying to solve a murder in
Or
in Los
Danny.
Angeles. Yeah, something like that.
I know who did it.
If you interchange almost anything with Columbo that we've talked about, it is funny. Like Alf was. Alf is still probably the best because I can see him in the raincoat and and I know Columbo doesn't wear a hat, but Alf in a hat, like a little trench coat and hat combination is I can't get over that.
Smoking a stogie.
And we already got around to this a little bit, but you could totally interchange Mr. Ernst and Willie Tanner.
Yes.
Or
that's too easy though.
If
That's
you
just
want
setting up there.
to get a little risque, if you want to fuck things up a little bit, what you do is you replace Willie's wife with Mr. Ernst. And you have Alf become a show about a gay couple, Mr. Ernst
That's awesome.
and Willie Tanner, who have to deal with Alf.
Who would we call to make this happen?
Look, Willie's a sad sack. Mr. Ernst is a sad sack.
But he's
an
very
upbeat.
energetic.
So it's the odd couple. They play
Yeah.
off well against one each other.
And then
the
there's
sex
Alf.
is great between them.
I bet.
Yeah, and Alf films it like he films everybody
He
in the
would
shower.
too. I want to throw a different approach at this out where I give you one of the actors or one of the people from
Yeah.
the show, and you guys think about it instead of me suggesting the whole thing. So where do we put Leah Remini in one of these other shows? What could we do with her?
Oh, that is a very, very good question.
She could be Mrs. Columbo, but then you'd never see her.
She's strong-willed enough to be Garnet from Steven
That's
Universe.
You think so?
But she's
She
like
got out of
Garnet, I like.
Scientology.
I would suggest Pearl, but then you'll get really mad probably because you really like Pearl too.
Take it.
Yeah, Van actually has several posters of Pearl up in the studio.
I told you that. And
Oh, you have
showed
to take
that
those
in
down
private.
before Katie comes in here.
Now,
Oh.
did you guys know that Kevin James actually has a gem in his belly button in all those episodes?
He lost it in there years ago, along with several.
He
burritos.
accidentally dropped it in the grill.
Is the power of being annoying at people.
He's very good at it.
I really feel like we got to find one good role for her real fast before we move on.
For her, okay. Let's really think about this because I mean, you put her in Lucy's spot, but I don't think she could manage that ranch because she couldn't manage a sandwich.
I don't know though, because she did manage a beach resort in Saved by the Bell, the Hawaiian years or
Oh.
whatever.
Oh,
she was
so
very
maybe-
capable.
Maybe that's an easy thing then for us to slip into the Saved by the Bell universe in that case. If she could do the kind of like the spin-off sort of, so to
That's-
speak, of Saved by the Bell and California Dreams.
Yeah, if there was a California Dreams, the Hawaiian years. Oh yeah, you could put Leah Remini in California Dreams, not as Sam, because she doesn't seem like
No.
she'd play that
Not
kind
gentle
of nice
enough,
role.
no.
So maybe you have her play Jake.
Can you see, before you said that, which is fine, can you see her doing the Tiffany thing and burping the alphabet maybe?
Yes.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
she'd do that.
But in a Jersey
There we go.
way.
There we go. Yeah, she's rough enough to do that.
It fits. It's perfect.
Yeah, well, like at the very end, a little bit of a wah-wah hoagie pops out of her mouth at the end of the burp.
Okay, I wanted to say this. I was talking about this with Katie. I don't think I said this on any of our shows when we've done Swap Out. On one hand, we have Columbo, who kills him with kindness.
Yeah.
He goes in, he does his job, he's calculating, he's smart, he knows what he's doing.
He does.
And he gets in, he gets under their skin and figures it out and takes care of the problem. On the other hand, we have Dr. House, who's very smart, figures it out, gets in there, gets it done, but is grating and mean and nasty to one another. I'm not saying let's swap them out. I'm saying they are created from the same cataclysmic universe event, which created two chaotic personalities, but they took one separate route.
And they are the
That's
two
fair.
poles.
Nice, evil.
That's fair.
what they did. And they really are, the characters are polar opposites of everything. And it was fascinating thinking about it.
You're totally onto something there, because they're both that type of savant expert
Right.
character.
Who
in a
doesn't
different
necessarily socialize in the way that
Yes.
you would expect most people to,
Yeah.
in one extreme or the other. So yeah, I think that's true. I guess that is some sort of trope in some sense. I've never really met anyone that falls into
So
this cliche
chew
like that.
on that, listeners. Think about what Van had to say, and write us a letter or send us a telegram. What do you think? House, Columbo, are they cut from the same cloth? And Hey Dude, is that cut from the same cloth as the next show we're going to be covering? I don't know. Well, Van, you are going to have to let us in on that information. I'm very excited, as I always am, for this part.
Okay, so let's talk through this. Let's get it done. Actually, I'm a little uncomfortable. You guys mind if I get comfortable real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
Okay.
it's just a little warm.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to.
Hair's coming down.
So let's go ahead and take this little guy
We'll
out.
have to see
Yeah,
exactly
Van's
how far
been
this
wearing
goes.
hair
Oh,
extensions this whole time.
beautiful. He's
It's-
shaking out the hair.
Kind of warm, too.
Shirt's getting unbuttoned.
Is this Baywatch?
Things are getting very, very.
He looks a little
sexy
like
here.
Pamela Anderson, so I'm just thinking.
Oh, that's okay.
Well,
Little bit
okay.
warmer.
So Van has a sleeveless Wolf Moon shirt.
All right,
on.
look, it's also a little bright in here. I don't really care for that. Let me.
I
get
didn't
that-
realize how cool you were going to be today.
get that
I
taken
wish you'd
care
been
of
this
here real
cool.
quick.
Sunglasses are getting put on now.
Okay, all right, I'm ready. Let's get back into the show. We can start talking about it.
I might
Um,
have to leave because I don't feel cool enough to be in your presence anymore.
That's fair. Look how far the loops come down.
That-
that I
that's
have
pretty
too
far.
much midriff showing.
That's a lot of midriff.
Anyway,
Well, but that's how you're supposed to do it.
sure. Let's
Yeah.
get back into the show. Let's talk about this. All right, so I'll
Can
bring
we
us back
please-
in.
This
Can
is
we
all
please-
real, by the way. This
I know
is
you're not
just Foley
comfortable right
work
now,
or
but
whatever.
can we put a picture of this on the Instagram?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you gotta get that.
I don't see any way we can't do this. All right, I now have photographic evidence of Van's appearance, which again is both dastardly,
And
beautiful.
As you crackle your knuckles as well to be really tough.
Can we
Yeah.
get back into this, guys?
Sure.
Fine.
All right. Let me get into this. I'll bring us back in. Okay, we're on break for all that. It's fine.
Yeah.
So with my show, I want. Can I do some line reads to get back into the thick of things? So,
Yeah. We'll give you a little bit of a practice. Do you need to get a production assistant out here?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? Oh, hang on.
Okay.
Oh, I could just read this to get ready.
Oh, you have a rehearsal sheet. That's a good idea, and you
Yeah.
won't focus so much on it if you're reading.
He was a cop and good at. He was a cop and good at his job, but he committed the ultimate sin and testified against other cops gone bad. Cops that tried to kill him, but got the woman he loved instead. Framed for murder, now he prowls the Badlands, an outlaw hunting outlaws, a bounty hunter, a renegade.
Oh shit!
That's right.
Things
Get
have
your-
come really into focus for me right now.
Get your motorcycles ready because we're going to watch Lorenzo Lamas in the 1990s hit not sitcom, Renegade. Either of you know about
Well,
Renegade?
that's amazing. I have knowledge of Renegade, but I've not really watched it.
I just read you the synopsis for Renegade. That's what the story is.
Well, this is going to be pretty amazing and action-packed.
Well, I've read a couple of the synopses. I've picked my episodes that we're going to be watching. Renegade is essentially, again, he was a cop. He told on the wrong cops. They went to assassinate him, accidentally killed his wife, but they're also the bad cops. So then they put out a warrant to get him. So he's a renegade.
Mm-hmm.
So now he had some Native American guy called like Billy Sixpence, who, no joke, it's something
Wow.
like that, who was out to get him, to get the warrant or whatever, the money. And he realized this guy's a real deal. They teamed up. Now they're bounty hunters.
Oh, I love a good bounty hunter team up.
We're going to listen to Renegade Season 2, Episode 11. Would you guys like to know what the title of the episode is?
Yes, please.
Honor Bound.
How is that possible?
That's why I picked it. Is because it was that. And I'll read you the
Twice
synopsis.
an honor bound.
Editor's note time. We have made a bit of a change. This is the first time in Boob Tube Boys history that we've decided to switch up the episode we're covering. I will go ahead and leave this bit in on this show because there's still some funny stuff to be found, and it's funny to talk about the synopses of the shows. But we are switching from Season 2, Episode 11, Honor Bound, to Season 2, Episode 12, Hard Rider. The other episode will remain the same, so you can keep listening there. But we did switch it up, and I'll explain a little more why next week when we talk Renegade. Real quick, before I read the synopsis, this was written on some site that clearly was not written by a native English speaker.
Oh.
Bear with me as we get through it, but I wanted to do these descriptions.
Renegade.biz.
When the Honorable Judge Hollister in a brothel wakes up, he is in trouble. The girl beside him is dead. Hollister, which can remember nothing, asks the gangster Frank for assistance. In the meantime, the father of the dead girl, ex-naval officer Quinn, finds out that his daughter Shannon disappeared. He assigns Bobby Six Killer, that was the guy's name,
That's even better.
to look for Shannon. Bobby and Reno is Renegade, by the way, uncover the thing very fast. And now Quinn has only a thought: revenge.
Oh.
Yeah, that synopsis
pretty
was
tense.
written very interestingly.
So that'll be our first episode. Our second episode we cover is going to be Season 4, Episode 22, The Road Not Taken. Reno pursues his latest bounty, one Henry Travers, at an amusement park. He captures him.
That sounds fun.
He himself is captured, however, and arrested along with Travers, is put into the same cell. While waiting for the arrival of Dutch Dixon, who had been contacted, Reno starts having regrets about his life and expresses, "I wished he had never been born."
Oh.
Reno and Travers would soon escape from jail, and from the moment that they do, they would enter that world that Reno wished for and that he had never been born. He would encounter some of the people in his life, his friends and foes, whose lives had turned out either good or bad. So it sounds like James, no, over there, that guy. The Christmas movie.
Jimmy Stewart.
Where he wishes he was dead and the ghost shows up. It's based on that. Now, I
Okay,
picked
but
these
Renegade
episodes
style, so with motorcycles.
with motorcycles, flowing hair.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
I picked these two episodes. I looked up the best episode of Renegade, which in the top 5 was Honor Bound. Bottom 5 was The Road Not Taken.
Okay,
so we'll have
so
a
we're
great
getting
and
a
a bad
little,
episode.
a little sampler platter of Renegade, which I don't know what this is going to be like.
I have no idea, but I cannot wait to find out.
I'll tell you, it's Walker. This is going to be another Walker show. It's going to be like that.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
So the power team's
Yeah.
right? Awesome.
In fact, the first episode, I watched a few minutes of it. Not these. I mean, the pilot episode of Renegade.
Yeah.
And it's him surfing to music, just being all handsome or whatever. And then some random, very beautiful woman just meandering on the beach. And it's just music for like 8 minutes.
That's how it
That's like
goes.
most days for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I waffled. And at the last minute, I decided I wanted to do Renegade. And here we are.
Hell yeah. Well, we're getting into Renegade next then, guys. Check those episodes out. Also, check us out everywhere you possibly can. Van just did a little flex because I'm not
Check
kidding.
him out on our Instagram. Boob
Yeah.
Tube Boys.
I'm not kidding.
He's
He
gonna
is
be there.
Decked out to the nines, as people no longer say. But check us out everywhere. We're on that Instagram at Boob Tube Boys. We're on Twitter at Boob Tube Boys. We're also individually on Twitter. I'm at Loud Guitar. Brian, Van, what are you? Like at Renegade?
At Renegade Man Van Lee. No, at Manly Van Lee.
Oh, okay.
Spencer?
Well, I also am not Renegade. I'm at the number 3 French_hen.
Awesome. So thank you for listening. It's been a pleasure spending time at the Barn on Ranch. But we're going to hop on our hogs next week.
Yippee-ki-yay, what?
Like the cowboys say,
Sing it again now.
yippee-ki-yay,
Get along, little dogies.
till the break of day.
Better watch out for those man-eating jackrabbits and that killer cacti. Hey,